Good evening. Thanks for joining us at Awaz News. I'm Kubrali and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada.
Sunwing plane forced to shut down engine mid-flight after takeoff in Toronto. Bandit solution, Ford response to increased police presence on TTC following surge in violence. Third suspect arrested in December, double stabbing in Markham. Greenbelt is Ontario's jurisdiction, Ford says after federal minister raises concerns. More nurses and doctors priority for Ontario under possible federal health deal, Ford. 2 suspects sought after shot fired at Queen and Spadina business. Parliament Hill, police estimate 500 will attend Freedom Convoy anniversary.
Those were the headlines, and now let's jump through the details.
A third suspect has been arrested in connection with a stabbing in Markham last month that left 2 men injured. York Regional Police announced on Friday the arrest in the December 3rd double stabbing at an establishment located in the Highway 7 East and Commerce Valley Drive West area. Police said 2 victims had just exited the establishment when 2 men ran up to them and allegedly started a fight. The 2 suspects had been waiting outside the establishment with a female suspect prior to the altercation, police said. During the fight, one of the suspects allegedly brandished a knife and stabbed the 2 victims several times. Police said the 2 suspects then climbed into a dark-colored vehicle where the female suspect has been waiting and drove away from the area. 5 days after the incident, police arrested 2 suspects identified as 26-year-old Rachel Guyun Kim and Vaughan and 22-year-old Thomas Muhi of Toronto. They were charged with 2 counts of attempt to commit murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. At the time, police released surveillance images and descriptions of the 3rd male suspect. Police said they arrested him on January 26 in Brampton without incident. He has been identified as 23-year-old Ariston Sadiku of Vaughan. He is also facing 2 counts of attempt to commit murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. The Parliamentary Protective Service expects 500 people to gather this weekend to mark a year since the Freedom Convoy occupied downtown Ottawa. The agency, with policies, the presence said it will curtail some access to Parliament Hill. The public can still use the central and east gates to access the Hill lawn, but not the gates closest to the West Block where the Liberals are holding their caucus meeting this weekend. The Protective Service said public tours have been cancelled. The Ottawa police say they don't have an estimate for demonstrators expected on city streets. The Protective Service also said Ottawa police will enforce the closure of Wellington Street in front of Parliament Hill to traffic. In its own news released Thursday, the City of Ottawa said police might implement temporary closures to manage large volumes of traffic if necessary. The city said that drivers should anticipate delays in the downtown core, adding Friday that parking had been restricted across the downtown core. OC Transpo says it plans to maintain regular transit service in capital. Ottawa City Council voted this week to reopen Wellington Street to cars as soon as March after a year-long closure. Large trucks occupied the street for weeks last year and were only removed after the Liberal government invoked the Emergencies Act. Demonstrators came with a range of grievances, with many focused on COVID-19 health measures, while others espoused conspiracy theories and displayed images related to far-right extremism. Toronto police have released a video showing the alleged suspects who shot a downtown establishment last month. The incident happened on December 17 at the intersection of Queen Street West and Spadina Avenue. Officers arrived to learn that a single round had been fired through a window of a business. After reviewing the surveillance video, police determined that 2 men were responsible for the incident. The video released Friday begins with 2 men walking up to the entrance of a restaurant. It then jumps to one of the men banging on the door of what appears to be another establishment. He appears to be shouting at someone from the inside as his companion tries to pull him away. Seconds later, the 2 walk away. The first suspect is described as a man in his 20s wearing a black hooded winter jacket, tan shirt, blue jeans, and black running shoes. The other suspect is also believed to be a man in his 20s with braided hair. He was last seen wearing a blue shirt, black winter jacket, black jeans, and black running shoes. As of Friday, there are 80 Toronto police officers scattered across TDC property after a week filled with violence across the network, which Ontario Premier Doug Ford said is great but not enough of a solution to resolve the issue that has left some customers anxious to ride the transit. The city's top brass announcement the deployment on Thursday following a number of violent incidents that have occurred on the network, which have included stabbings, assaults, and robberies. Police Chief Marwan Demkew made the announcement alongside Mayor John Tory as well as TDC CEO Rick Leary and said the 80 officers who will work overtime to cover the shifts will be focused on reducing victimization, preventing crimes of opportunity and enhancing public safety. It's unclear how much the enhanced deployment will cost the city or when it will end, but Demkew said those are factors under consideration. Some TDC customers riding the transit Friday morning welcome the increased police presence. Ford went on to say that he realizes policing is just one part of the solution to multi-layered problem and pointed to his government's $3.8 billion investment in mental health services over 10 years through its roadmap to wellness initiative as another element of provincial support for the city. The premier booked his comments on the issue by again calling for bail reform. Ford, who has called for changes to the country's bail system a number of times throughout his tenure, most recently raised the issue following the death of Constable Greg. It was revealed through court documents that one of the two people facing a first-degree murder charge in the OPP officer's death was out on bail. Toronto Mayor John Tory said Thursday's announcement of more police in the system is just one step toward addressing safety concerns on public transit that came out of the discussions between the city, the TDC, its union representatives, and police. The Greenbelt is provincial jurisdiction, Ontario Premier Doug Ford said Friday after the federal environment minister indicated he would consider intervening in Ford's plans to develop parts of the protected lands. The province announced in November that it is removing about 7,400 acres from 15 different areas in the protected Greenbelt lands while adding more parcels elsewhere in order to build 50,000 homes. Media outlet The Narwhal reported that Environment Minister Stephen Gilbert said Thursday that Ford's plans run counter to the goals preparing for the effects of climate change. The plan flies in the face of everything we are trying to do in terms of being better prepared for the impacts of climate change. The Narwhal quoted Gilbert as saying, Ottawa will be looking at the potential use of federal tools to stop some of these projects. Ford said Friday he was really disappointed to hear those comments. This is our jurisdiction, he said. Ford said Ottawa's new immigration targets will mean hundreds of thousands more newcomers to the province each year, and they need somewhere to live. A government-commissioned housing affordability task force report said a shortage of land isn't the cause of the housing crisis. Ontario's Auditor General is conducting a value-for-money audit for the financial and environmental implications of the Greenbelt development plans, which are part of the government's efforts to get 1.5 million homes built in 10 years. The province's Integrity Commissioner is also investigating a complaint from the incoming NDP leader into what she calls the curious timing of recent purchases of Greenbelt land by powerful landowners with donor and political ties to the Ontario PC party. Ford and his housing minister have denied any developers were tipped off about plans to open the Greenbelt. Ontario created the Greenbelt in 2005 to protect agricultural and environmentally sensitive lands in the greater Golden Horseshoe area from development. Ontario will prioritize hiring more nurses and doctors as well as making investments to help tackle the surgical backlog under a possible new healthcare deal with the federal government, Premier Doug Ford said Friday. Premiers across the country are set to meet with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in February to negotiate changes to the Canada Health Transfer. The premiers want to see Ottawa cover 35% of healthcare costs across the country, up from the current 22%. Ford said he's looking for a program that makes sure we have funding in different areas, no matter if it's hiring new nurses or doctors or working with us on the backlog surgeries, just to name a few. He said the province is also looking to put more money into long-term care and home care. We'll negotiate that with the federal government and we'll negotiate hard, Ford said. But he also said he's confident they'll reach a deal. Trudeau has said the funding will come with strings attached, including sharing health data and outcomes for a national database. Ford has said he'll agree to some terms and the province will be transparent and accountable about how the new money is spent. Trudeau has said he'll be working on bilateral deals with each province. Estimates suggest a 35% share in 2023-2024 would require close to $30 billion in additional transfers to the provinces. Trudeau has not committed to that target. If he did, it would likely be a phased-in increase that will not hit 35% for several years. The talks are looking for a long-term arrangement that would last at least 10 years. A Sunwing plane was forced to shut down one of its engines mid-flight after experiencing issues after takeoff from Toronto. The Boeing 737 operating as WG-732 was traveling to Montego Bay on Friday when it experienced low oil pressure shortly after takeoff around 12 p.m., the airline said in a statement. As a result, the pilots were required to shut down one of the plane's two engines and return to Toronto. According to Flight Radar 24, the plane was south of Pittsburgh when it turned back. It landed safely at Toronto Pearson International Airport just before 1 p.m. The aircraft is currently being investigated by maintenance crews, and a new aircraft is being prepared to transport all passengers to Montego Bay later this afternoon, Sunwing told CTV News Toronto. We thank our customers for their patience and understanding during this unforeseen situation. The Greater Toronto Airport Authority said in a statement the plane was hit by fire and emergency services when it landed. No injuries were reported.
This was all from us today. I'm Kurali, and I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.